So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
Welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Rapid developments in the United States with just 4 months to go for the presidential elections. Vice President Kamala Harris will contest against Republican nominee Donald Trump. This comes after US President Joe Biden withdrew from his re-election bid after a disastrous performance in the first debate. Kamala Harris has already made history by becoming the first black woman and the first woman of South Asian origin to be the vice president. Today she received the endorsement of Barack and Michelle Obama. What are her real chances of defeating Donald Trump? Trump is leading by a slender margin, according to the polls, in what promises to be a tight contest. Joining me now is a very special guest, Terry Szuplat, former speechwriter for Barack Obama for 8 years and also of the author of the upcoming book, Say It Well. Thank you very much, Terry, for joining us on the program. Give us a sense of what Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's endorsement for Kamala Harris means for her as the Democrat nominee for presidential elections.
Sure, thanks for having me on. I think what the endorsement of President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama means is that at this point, the Democratic Party is completely united behind Vice President Kamala Harris. What you've seen over the last few days is a remarkable coalescing of the Democratic Party around the vice president. A few days ago even, there was a great deal of division within the party about how to move forward. Today, there's unity, there's enthusiasm, remarkable surge in donations and energy. And again, so what this endorsement means is what you're seeing is a very, very united Democratic Party.
Right. Terry, there have been some reports that Barack Obama took some time to endorse Kamala Harris because he was not sure about whether she's going to win. And somewhere he was not happy with this decision. As someone who was Obama's speechwriter for 8 years, do you feel these reports are true?
Actually, not at all. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, since he's left the presidency, President Barack Obama has tried to play a unifying force in the party, in the Democratic Party. So he doesn't engage in sort of fights within the party. What he does is he serves as a unifying role in the party. And so I think what you were seeing was Kamala Harris said at the very beginning when she announced that she wanted to be the nominee is that she wanted to earn and win the nomination. So you can't earn something if it's simply given to you by the party elders. So I think there was a very deliberate decision by President Obama, Michelle Obama, to stand back and let the party, let Democrats find their nominee. And when they did, they offered their enthusiastic endorsement, and they're going to be out there on the campaign trail doing everything they can, I'm sure, to help her become the next president of the United States. And as you said, a historic president of the United States, the first black woman, the first person of Asian descent, South Asian descent. So this is a remarkable moment. And again, I just keep coming back, the transformation and the enthusiasm on the Democratic side right now has just been remarkable. It's something that you can feel, you can see it, and that's palpable, and it's really important in a campaign. As you know, in India, the enthusiasm of voters and the party means everything.
We've always been told that it always comes down to some of those 5 and 6 key swing states in the US election. That's what the battle is about. If we were to ask you about key issues that could move independent voters, young voters, new voters in this election. What could those be? If there were three contentious issues which you had to name, which could be a deciding factor, what would those be?
Well, I think that one of the top ones is abortion and reproductive freedom, the right of women to control their own bodies. This is an issue that transcends age and demographics and parts of the country. This is a huge issue, especially for young women. And this is an area where Kamala Harris has tremendous strength among young people. Already we're seeing support for the ticket surge among young people and people of color. And so I think that she has been a very effective spokesperson. You mentioned the book at the top. One of the things I talk about in the book is that all of us, whether you're in politics or business or a community leader, all of us have to lead with our strongest self. We have to speak from the heart. We have to speak about the things that are most important to us. That's when we're most effective communicators in politics, business, and in life. And Vice President Harris can do that by speaking to reproductive freedom. So I think already you're seeing her lean into that significantly. Other issues, of course, what we call kitchen table issues. The costs of everything have to come down in the United States. She can put forward a strong plan to bring down costs for the American people. I think she'll increase her support. And again, I think ultimately this is going to come down to the kind of country we want to be, a country of freedom or fear, a country where we're a democracy that respects the will of the people, or where someone launches an insurrection against the Capitol because they don't like the results of the election. So I think all these things can really galvanize support among for her.
Right. My final question, Terry, very briefly, if you could sum up for us, how do you think you have Donald Trump on one side, who's seen as a very tough, hard-talking presidential candidate. On the other side, you've got a successful litigator come vice president. How do you think Kamala Harris will take him on in terms of campaign speeches? You know speech writing very well, and it's important in presidential campaigns. How do you think Kamala Harris will take him on?
Well, in fact, she's already started doing it. From her very first speeches, she's been giving a series of speeches across the country. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's exactly what she's doing. She has said that she is positioning herself as the former prosecutor who believes in the rule of law, who's going to prosecute the case against a man who's been convicted of 34 felony counts. And so elections, as you know, are about the future. They're about framing the choice, boiling the choice down. I think if she can successfully make this case over the coming months, that she is a successful prosecutor who believes in the rule of law, strength against a convicted felon, 34-time convicted felon, that's a powerful argument to make. And I think that ultimately could be one of the issues that puts her over the top and makes her a historic election.
Right. Thank you very much, Terry, for joining us on the program, giving us your view on the election campaign and where Kamala Harris really scores over Donald Trump. Let's see what happens in the next 4 months. Thanks once again. Let me also get you an interview with former Indian ambassador to the United States, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu. We spoke to him about what this election really means for India and the changing dynamics in the United States. Let's begin by hearing what Taranjeet Sandhu had to say about Kamala Harris's chances of winning this election.
So, Parikshit, like any elections, the US elections are also extremely competitive, can be. And the most important aspects of US elections is the voter turnout. And in voter turnout, it's important how the party faithfuls come out and vote. And secondly, how the independents vote. And you know, independents have many subsections. So if you look at this broader picture and bring it down to what is happening, then you will see that this year's election was supposed to be a contest between two rivals, President Biden and President Trump. And there were so many other factors which I have narrated to you that it was generally felt that this time the Republican cadre was getting more excited. There were reasons for that, maybe old age of President Biden or his agility, and the assassination attempt on President Trump. Then the independence. And in independence, a number of issues come up, including cost of living, etc., etc. So, keeping all that in mind, there was a feeling that Democrats this time, also due to anti-incumbency, were in the uphill. And President Biden, because he doesn't have the agility, there was a lot of demand that he should step aside, most of it coming from his own party. Now that was distracting from the message. And in between you also had the debate. So you saw in the debate, the main focus became the health of President Biden, in the sense his ability to quickly respond and be swift. The issues got pushed back. And now that President Biden has stepped aside, this is first time in the history, somebody who has the maximum number of primary votes, overwhelming number, has stepped aside, and Vice President Harris has taken over. So there is a new momentum of freshness within the Democrats and excitement, which is leading to a hope that it will be a much more competitive race.
What are some of the cues that India should pick up from this election? Because the Indian stock markets, the Indian economy is also impacted by what's happening with the United States, considering we're so closely integrated together in terms of economies, in terms of trade, in terms of supply chain and geopolitical ties. So how do you think India should view this election, or maybe three factors to watch out for?
So 5 areas certainly need to be looked into, and I think our relationship will move much closer. First, of course, is the strategic part, which I don't need to explain much. You know, we have a big neighbor. There is a threat which emanates from there, and that country also has a particular attitude that has come about in the last 5 years. So that and many other areas where our strategic thinking converges, and you are aware that we are carrying on a lot of military exercises. There are co-productions, co-developments that are taking place. So the relationship is moving ahead. Right. And you know the examples, I don't have to give those. But there are 4 other areas which are very economic oriented. First, I would say, is healthcare. And you know that India has healthcare industry, our pharmacy is playing a very significant role in the United States, because affordable healthcare, affordable medicines are an important ingredient in the United States. And Indian pharmaceutical companies play an important role. Even today, if you go to a pharmacy in the United States and you pick up a fever-reducing medicine, look behind, you will see made in India. So that's one area. Second, I would say IT, digital, startup. You know, the new emerging technologies, quantum, cybersecurity, AI, you are reading all the time, and you know that this partnership of United States and India, you have seen the progress that has been made in ICET. You've seen a number of US investments which are coming in semiconductor industry, in solar, in many of these areas. That's another facet of our partnership where both the countries, it's a win-win situation. Third, I would say, is energy. And you know we require huge amount of energy, and solar is an important element for India. And First Solar, that is the biggest US company, has invested in Chennai. They have set up their biggest plant. So this is another area which is going to be important.
All right, 6 states in US to watch out for, and who Kamala Harris picks as her running mate. That is something that former Indian ambassador to the US, Taranjeet Sandhu, will be watching out for. We're heading into a short break, but don't go anywhere. Over 10,000 athletes, nearly 9 million tickets sold, and billions of viewers across the world. The Paris Olympics 2024 have begun. A deep dive into the math and challenges of rising costs of Olympic with sports economist Andrew Zimbalist when we return.